The night is very still. The desert air has cooled, and a quiet softness settles over the land. Far away, beyond the dark shapes of low mud brick homes, the wide river moves without sound. The Nile flows slowly, as it always has, carrying faint reflections of the stars above. There is no rush here. No sudden movement. Only a calm and steady waiting. In a small village near the riverbank, most people are asleep. Their homes are simple, built from sun-dried mud bricks that hold the warmth of the day and release it slowly into the night. The walls are thick. The rooms are plain. Inside, families rest close together, lying on woven mats or low wooden frames. The air smells faintly of earth and reeds. Somewhere in the darkness, a soft breeze moves through palm leaves. It brushes against the flat rooftops where, in warmer seasons, people sometimes sleep under the open sky. Tonight, most have gone inside. The temperature has dropped just enough to make the indoors feel comfortable. Time passes gently. There are no clocks. No ticking sounds. No glowing lights. And yet, everyone will wake at nearly the same moment. Because in this place, life follows a rhythm that does not change. It follows the river. It follows the sun. And above all, it follows order. Long before the first light appears, a faint shift begins. It is not something seen, but something felt. The air grows slightly cooler. The darkness thins, just a little. Somewhere, a bird stirs. Inside one home, a man opens his eyes. He does not move right away. There is no sense of rushing. He simply lies still for a moment, listening. The quiet is deep, but not empty. It holds the presence of the world outside the river, the fields, the distant animals. Then slowly, he sits up. This is how the day begins. There is no choice in it. In ancient Egypt, a normal day does not belong to the individual. It belongs to a structure that has been followed for generations. Each person knows what must be done, and when it must be done. There is comfort in this, but also a kind of firmness. A quiet strictness. The man stands and steps carefully across the floor. His movements are practiced, almost automatic. He reaches for a simple linen garment, light and loose, and wraps it around his body. The fabric is cool against his skin. Nearby, others begin to wake. A woman rises, adjusting her hair, smoothing it with her hands. A child shifts in sleep, then slowly opens their eyes, not fully awake yet. No one speaks loudly. The morning is not a time for noise. Outside, the sky begins to change. A pale gray spreads along the horizon, barely visible at first. The stars fade, one by one. The shapes of the land become clearer: the flat roofs, the narrow paths, the distant line of palm trees. The Nile is still there, wide and silent. And soon, the sun will rise. But before that happens, the first tasks of the day must begin. The man steps outside his home. The ground beneath his feet is cool and slightly rough. He walks a short distance, passing other homes where doors are beginning to open. People emerge quietly, each one moving with purpose. There is no confusion. Everyone knows their place. In ancient Egyptian life, order is not just a preference. It is a belief. A deep understanding that the world must remain balanced, steady, and predictable. This idea shapes everything, from the movement of the river to the way a person begins their morning. Even the smallest action has its place. The man walks toward the river. He is not alone. Others are moving in the same direction, forming a slow and silent line. Some carry small containers. Others walk empty-handed. Their footsteps are soft against the earth. When they reach the water, they stop. The surface of the Nile reflects the early light, smooth and unbroken. It looks almost like polished stone. One by one, they step closer. They wash their hands, their faces, their arms. The water is cool. This is not just for cleanliness. It is part of a routine that must be followed. A quiet act that prepares the body for the day ahead. There is no discussion about it. No variation. It is simply done. Nearby, a woman fills a clay jar with water. She lifts it carefully, balancing it with practiced ease. Her movements are steady. She does not hurry, but she does not pause either. Time continues to move. The sky grows lighter. A soft golden tone begins to spread across the horizon. The outlines of the fields become visible now, long stretches of fertile land, dark and rich from the yearly flooding of the river. This land must be worked. And it must be worked in a certain way. Because here, even farming is not just a task. It is part of a larger order that must be respected. The man turns away from the river and begins walking toward the fields. Others follow similar paths, each heading to their assigned place. There is no need for direction. No one tells them where to go. They already know. This is how it has always been. The ground beneath their feet changes as they move. From packed earth to softer soil. The smell of the land becomes stronger, damp, fertile, alive. In the distance, the sun finally appears. It rises slowly, without urgency. A glowing circle of light that brings warmth back into the world. As it lifts higher, the air begins to shift. The coolness fades. The promise of heat returns. The day has begun. And with it, the work. The man reaches his section of the field. He pauses for a moment, looking out across the land. There is a stillness here, even as others arrive and prepare their tools. Simple tools. Wooden handles. Stone or metal edges. Nothing elaborate. He picks one up and begins. The motion is steady. Repeated. Familiar. There is no need to think about it. This is not work that changes from day to day. It is the same movement, again and again, guided by seasons, by water levels, by tradition, and by rules. Because even here, in the open fields under the wide sky, there is a structure that must be followed. Who works where? When they begin. When they stop. All of it is understood. All of it is expected. The sun climbs higher. The light becomes stronger, more direct. Shadows shorten. The warmth grows heavier. Still, the work continues. There are no sudden breaks. No wandering thoughts. Just the quiet rhythm of effort, shared across the land. The sound of tools against soil. The faint movement of water in irrigation channels. Everything flows together. Everything remains in place. And in this steady, unchanging rhythm, the day slowly unfolds. The light of the morning settles fully over the land. It does not arrive suddenly. It spreads slowly, gently, touching the fields, the water, the quiet village behind. The Nile now reflects a soft gold, and the surface moves with a calm certainty that never changes. In the fields, the work continues without interruption. The man bends slightly as he presses his tool into the soil. The movement is simple. It repeats again and again. There is a kind of quiet rhythm in it, almost like breathing. Around him, Others do the same. No one speaks much. There are only small sounds: feet shifting, tools brushing against earth, the distant call of a bird. Time passes, but it is not measured in hours. It is felt through the body. The slow warmth of the sun on the skin. The slight dryness in the air. The steady rise of light in the sky. This is how people know the morning is moving forward. In ancient Egypt, daily life follows a pattern that is deeply fixed. It does not bend easily. It does not change quickly. Each person wakes, moves, works, and rests within a structure that has been shaped long ago. This structure is not written down in simple words. It lives in habit. It lives in expectation. And most of all, it lives in a quiet understanding that everything must remain in order. The man pauses for a brief moment. He straightens his back and looks across the field. The land stretches out in long lines, carefully divided. Each section belongs to a purpose. Each purpose belongs to a person. Nothing is left uncertain. He does not rest for long. There is no signal given, no voice calling out. But he knows when to begin again. The work must continue while the light is still soft enough to bear. Nearby, a younger boy works more slowly. His movements are not yet as steady. He watches the older men from time to time, adjusting his actions to match theirs. Learning does not happen through instruction here. It happens through watching, repeating, and remembering. The boy says nothing. He simply continues. In the distance, a pair of oxen move steadily across another section of the field. Their pace is slow, controlled, guided by a farmer who walks beside them. The soil turns beneath their weight, preparing the ground for planting. This, too, follows a pattern. There is a time for turning the soil. A time for planting. A time for waiting. And a time for harvest. Each stage must come in its proper order. If one step is rushed, or delayed, the balance is disturbed. And balance, in this land, is everything. The sun climbs a little higher. The air begins to feel heavier now. The coolness of the early morning is almost gone. A faint shimmer appears over the fields as the heat slowly builds. Still, no one leaves. The work continues. In the village, life is also beginning to unfold. Women move through narrow paths between homes, carrying clay jars filled with water. Their steps are careful and steady. The jars are balanced with precision, often resting against the shoulder or supported by both hands. Inside one home, a small fire has been prepared. The flame is not large. It burns quietly, just enough to warm a flat stone surface where simple bread will be made. The smell of grain begins to fill the air, soft and comforting. A woman kneads dough with slow, practiced movements. Her hands press and fold, again and again. There is no variation in the motion. It has been learned over many years, passed down without change. Nearby, a child watches. The child does not ask questions. Instead, they observe. They remember. This is how knowledge moves forward. Without noise. Without interruption. Back in the fields, the man feels the weight of the morning settling into his muscles. His arms move steadily, but there is a quiet effort now. The soil resists slightly. The air feels thicker. He does not stop. Because stopping is not decided by feeling. It is decided by time. And time, here, is guided by the sun. There will be a moment, later, when the light becomes too strong. When the heat presses down more heavily. When the body signals that it must rest. but that moment has not yet arrived. So the work continues. A faint breeze passes across the land. It carries the scent of water and earth. It moves through the tall grasses near the river's edge, creating a soft, whispering sound that blends into the background of the day. Nothing is sudden. Nothing is sharp. Everything moves slowly, steadily, in a way that feels almost unchanging. The boy in the field wipes his forehead with the back of his hand. He glances briefly toward the river, where the light dances on the surface. For a moment, he pauses. But only for a moment. Then he returns to his work. Because even small pauses are limited. There is an understanding, shared by all, that the day must follow its course. That each task must be completed in its proper time. This is not enforced with loud commands. It is enforced with quiet expectation. And no one steps outside of it. As the morning deepens, the village becomes more active. More people move through the paths. More fires are lit. The sounds remain soft, but they grow slightly more frequent. Clay vessels touch against stone. Footsteps pass over dry ground. A distant voice speaks briefly, then fades. There is no chaos. Only gentle movement. Only order. And above it all, the sun continues its slow, steady rise. The sun continues to rise, slowly and without effort. Its light spreads wider now, reaching into every corner of the land. The soft gold of early morning begins to fade into a brighter, clearer white. Shadows grow shorter, pulling closer to the feet of those who stand and work. In the fields, the rhythm remains steady. The man's movements have not changed. His hands grip the tool with quiet familiarity. He presses it into the soil, lifts it, and presses again. There is no variation. No hesitation. Only repetition. This repetition is not seen as tiring. It is seen as correct. Around him, the same motions continue in every direction. Lines of workers move slowly across the land, each person holding their place, each person following the same quiet pattern. There is comfort in the sameness. A feeling that nothing unexpected will happen. That the day will unfold just as it should. The boy nearby has begun to match the pace more closely now. His movements are still smaller, still less certain, but they are becoming steadier. He watches less often. He no longer needs to check every motion. His body is beginning to remember. This is how learning settles into the muscles. Not through words, but through doing. The soil grows warmer beneath their feet. A faint dryness begins to rise from the ground as the moisture of the night slowly disappears. The scent of earth changes slightly, becoming lighter, less heavy. The breeze has softened. The air feels still now. From the river, a low, constant presence remains. The Nile does not rush. It does not change direction. It simply continues, carrying water from distant places, feeding the land in a way that no one questions. It is always there. And because of that, everything else can remain in place. The man pauses again, just for a breath. He looks up, not toward anything specific, but toward the open space ahead. The sky is clear. There are no clouds to break the light. Only a wide, endless blue that stretches across the horizon. Then he lowers his gaze and continues. There is no signal for rest yet. That moment comes later. In the village, the morning tasks are now fully underway. The bread has been shaped and placed onto the heated surface. It cooks slowly, releasing a warm, simple smell that drifts through the air. The woman watches it carefully, turning it at the right moment, never too early, never too late. Timing matters, even in the smallest things. Nearby, another woman grinds grain between two stones. The motion is slow and circular. The sound is soft, steady, almost like a quiet hum. It repeats again and again, creating a fine powder that will be used for food. Children move through the narrow spaces between homes. They are awake now, but they are not loud. Their movements are gentle. They watch the adults. They carry small items when asked. They remain within the boundaries they understand. Even at a young age, they learn the shape of the day. They learn when to move, when to stay still, when to speak, and when to remain silent. There is no written instruction, only example. Back in the fields, the heat begins to press more firmly against the body. The man feels it on his shoulders, on his arms, on the back of his neck. The linen garment is light, but the sun is growing stronger now. The air no longer cools the skin. It rests on it, warm and steady. Still, the work continues. Because it must. A distant call breaks the quiet for a brief moment. It is not loud. Not sharp. Just enough to carry across the field. A simple sound, understood by those who hear it. The man does not react immediately. He finishes the motion he has begun. He presses the tool into the soil one more time, lifts it, and then slowly straightens his back. Others do the same. Across the field, movements begin to slow. Not all at once, but gradually. This is how the first pause of the day arrives. Not suddenly, but like everything else, in a controlled and gentle way. The man steps back from his work. He does not leave the area. He does not wander far. He simply moves to a slightly shaded space, where the light is less direct. He sits. The ground is warm now, but not yet hot. He rests his hands on his knees and lowers his head slightly. His breathing is calm. There is no sign of urgency. This is not a long rest. It is a measured one. Nearby, others sit in similar positions. Some drink water from small containers. Others simply close their eyes for a moment, allowing the body to settle. No one speaks loudly. There is no laughter. Only quiet. The boy sits as well. He watches the older men for a moment, then lowers his gaze. His chest rises and falls a little faster, but it begins to slow. This pause is part of the structure. It is expected. It is allowed. But it does not last long. Because the day is still moving forward. The sun continues its path across the sky. The light grows stronger. And soon, the work will begin again. In the village, the first meals of the day are being shared. Simple food, prepared without excess. Bread, water, sometimes small additions depending on what is available. Nothing is wasted. Nothing is taken in large amounts. Each portion is understood. Each person receives what they need. The act of eating is quiet. There is no gathering for long conversation. No lingering beyond what is necessary. Once the food is taken, the tasks continue. Because in this place, the day does not open into freedom. It moves through structure. Through order. Through a quiet set of expectations that guide every hour. Back in the fields, the man opens his eyes. The pause is ending. He rises slowly, without resistance. He does not question it. He does not delay. He simply returns to his place, picks up his tool, and begins again. The rhythm continues. Just as it always does. The sun has now arisen high enough to change the feeling of the land. The light is no longer soft. It has become steady and direct, resting on the earth with a quiet weight. The warmth that once felt gentle now begins to settle deeper into the skin, into the ground, into everything that remains exposed beneath the open sky. In the fields, the work resumes as if it had never paused. The man returns to his place without hesitation. His hands find the tool again, his body lowers into the same familiar position, and the motion continues. Press. Lift. Press. Lift. There is no adjustment. No sign that anything has changed. And yet, everything has changed in a small and gradual way. The air is heavier now. The soil is drier at the surface. The body begins to feel the passing of time more clearly. Still, the rhythm holds. Around him, others move in the same steady pattern. Each person remains within their space, never crossing too far, never stepping into another's section without purpose. There is an invisible boundary between them, understood without being spoken. This quiet separation keeps order. It ensures that every part of the land is tended as it should be. Nothing overlaps. Nothing is left behind. The boy continues his work as well. His pace has slowed slightly under the growing heat, but he does not stop. He adjusts without thinking, shortening his movements, conserving his energy. His breathing is a little deeper now, but it remains controlled. He has already begun to understand something important. The day is not shaped by comfort. It is shaped by necessity. The Nile, not far away, continues its slow and endless movement. Its surface now shines brightly under the stronger light. The reflection is almost too sharp to look at directly. It flickers gently, but never breaks. Along its edge, small ripples form where the water meets the land, repeating in soft and endless patterns. A few figures move near the river. They walk carefully, carrying containers, filling them, lifting them again with practiced ease. Even here, the movements are measured. No one rushes. No one lingers. The task is done, and then they return. Back in the village, the morning has settled into its full shape. The narrow paths between homes are quiet again after the earlier movement. Most tasks have been completed for this part of the day. The fires burn lower now. The scent of baked bread has softened and begun to fade into the warm air. Inside one home, a woman arranges simple items along a low surface. Clay vessels. Small tools. Folded fabric. Everything has its place. Nothing is left scattered. This, too, is part of the order. A home must reflect the same balance as the fields, as the river, as the sky itself. A place for each object. A purpose for each action. The child who watched earlier now sits nearby. Their hands move slowly as they copy a simple task, perhaps shaping a small piece of dough, or adjusting a bundle of fibers. The movements are not perfect, but they are careful. There is no correction spoken aloud. Only quiet observation. The child will learn through repetition, just as all others have. Outside, the sunlight presses more strongly against the walls of the homes. The mud bricks hold the heat, absorbing it slowly. Inside, the air remains cooler for now, offering a brief shelter from the growing warmth. But even this will change as the day continues. Nothing remains still for long. Back in the fields, the man feels the weight of the sun more clearly now. It rests on his shoulders, steady and unyielding. A thin layer of sweat forms on his skin, catching the light. He does not wipe it away often. He simply continues, allowing the body to adjust in its own way. The sound of work remains soft. There are no sharp noises. Only the repeated contact of tool and soil, the shifting of feet, the quiet exhale of breath. The land itself seems to listen. The fields stretch outward in long, organized lines. Channels of water run between sections, carefully directed, never allowed to overflow or wander. Each path of water has been shaped, guided, maintained. Nothing here is left to chance. This is what makes the day feel strict, even without spoken rules. Every movement fits into something larger. Every task belongs to a system that must not be disturbed. The man pauses again, but only briefly. This time, it is not for rest. He adjusts his grip, shifts his footing, then continues. There is no full stop. Only small moments of correction. The boy glances toward the horizon. The light is bright now, almost pale at its center. The sky holds no clouds. It stretches endlessly, unchanged. He lowers his gaze and continues. There is no thought of leaving. No thought of choosing another path. Because this is not a day that allows for choice. It allows for completion. Time moves forward in a quiet, steady way. The sun climbs higher still. The shadows shrink further, nearly disappearing beneath the bodies that cast them. The ground begins to feel warmer underfoot, especially where the soil is dry and exposed. The air grows thicker. Breathing becomes slightly heavier. But still, the work does not stop. Because the structure of the day is firm. Stronger than discomfort. Stronger than fatigue. In the village, a deeper stillness begins to form. Many have moved indoors now, away from the direct light. The narrow paths are nearly empty. Only occasional movement breaks the quiet, someone crossing from one shaded area to another, carrying something small, completing a minor task. Even these movements are brief. No one remains outside longer than needed. The sun has reached a point where it begins to shape the behavior of everyone. This is the middle of the day approaching. A time that is known, understood, and respected. Back in the fields, the man senses it without looking. There is a shift. Not in the light itself, but in the way the body responds to it. The heat is no longer just present. It is pressing. He finishes one more motion. Then another. Then slowly, he stops. Around him, others begin to do the same. Again, not all at once. But in a quiet, shared understanding. This is the longer rest. The one that must be taken. The man steps away from his section of the field. He walks toward a place where shade can be found, perhaps beneath a simple structure, or near the edge of taller growth where the sun does not reach as directly. He sits. This time, his body settles more deeply. His hands rest against the ground. His shoulders lower. His breathing becomes slower, heavier. This rest will last longer than the first. Because the sun is at its strongest now. And even within a strict and ordered life, there are moments where the body must be allowed to recover. But even this rest is controlled. Measured. Never extended beyond what is needed. The boy sits as well. He leans forward slightly, resting his arms across his knees. His head lowers. His eyes close for a moment, then open again. He listens. To the quiet. To the distant sound of the river. To the soft movements of others around him. Everything remains calm. Everything remains in place. The day has reached its center. And from here, it will slowly begin to move toward evening. But not yet. For now, there is only stillness. Only heat. Only the quiet pause that exists within a life shaped by order. The stillness of midday settles fully over the land. It is not an empty stillness, but a heavy one. The kind that rests on the skin and presses gently downward, asking everything to slow. The air feels thick now, almost unmoving. Even the faint breeze from earlier has faded into something barely noticeable. In the shaded area near the fields, the man remains seated. His posture is relaxed, but not loose. His back is slightly curved, his hands resting quietly where they have fallen. His breathing is slow and steady, matching the quiet rhythm of the world around him. He does not sleep. This is not a time for sleep. It is a time for stillness. Around him, others sit in similar silence. Some drink small amounts of water, lifting their containers carefully, never taking more than needed. The water is warm now, touched by the heat of the day, but it still brings relief. No one speaks loudly. No one breaks the calm. Even the animals nearby seem quieter. The oxen stand with lowered heads, their movements minimal. Birds rest in shaded branches, their calls less frequent now, softened by the weight of the sun above. The Nile continues to move. It does not pause. It does not slow. Even in the deepest heat of the day, it remains steady. Its surface glows under the bright light, but beneath that brightness, the water flows as it always has, cool and certain. This quiet constancy is felt by everyone, even if it is not spoken. It is part of the order. Part of what makes the day predictable. Safe in its structure. The boy shifts slightly where he sits. He adjusts his position, moving his feet closer, resting his arms differently. His body is still learning how to rest without losing readiness. His eyes move slowly across the shaded space, observing without focus. He does not wander. He does not leave. Because even rest has its boundaries. In the village, the midday quiet is deeper. Most people have retreated indoors now. The mud brick walls hold back the strongest heat, creating a space that feels cooler, though the warmth still lingers. Inside, the air is still, carrying faint scents of grain, clay, and earth. A woman sits near the wall, her hands working slowly with a piece of linen. She folds, smooths, and adjusts the fabric with careful attention. The movement is gentle, almost meditative. There is no rush to finish. Only a steady continuation. Nearby, a child rests against the floor, eyes half closed. They are not fully asleep, but they are not fully awake either. Their breathing is soft. Their body remains still, as if held in place by the quiet around them. This is how midday passes. Not through activity, but through controlled stillness. Outside, the light reaches its highest point. The sun stands nearly overhead, casting very little shadow. The ground reflects the heat back upward, creating a feeling that surrounds the body from all sides. In the fields, the man opens his eyes slightly. He looks out across the land. Everything appears brighter, sharper. The edges of objects are clear, but softened by the shimmering heat that rises from the ground. The air seems to move, even when it does not. He does not rise yet. There is still time in this pause. Time that must be allowed. Because returning to work too early would break the balance of the day. And balance must be kept. Always. The silence stretches. It is not uncomfortable. It is expected. It gives the body a moment to return to itself, to release the strain of the morning, to prepare for what remains of the day. Slowly, very slowly, the sun begins to shift. It is not immediately noticeable. There is no sudden change. but the light begins to lean, just slightly, toward the west. The intensity remains, but the angle softens, almost imperceptibly. This is how the afternoon begins. Not with a clear moment, but with a gradual transition. The man senses it before he sees it. There is a subtle difference in the way the light touches his skin. A faint easing of pressure. A small change in the air. He takes a breath. Then another. And then, without hesitation, he begins to move. He places his hands against the ground and slowly rises to his feet. Around him, others begin to do the same. Again, not all at once, but in a quiet, shared rhythm. The rest is ending. The work will begin again. There is no announcement. No signal. Only understanding. The man steps back toward his place in the field. His movements are steady, unchanged by the pause. He picks up his tool, adjusts his grip, and lowers it into the soil once more. Press. Lift. Press. Lift. The rhythm returns immediately, as if it had never stopped. The body remembers. The structure holds. The boy rises as well. His movements are slower, but he follows without question. He returns to his place, resumes his task, and continues. There is no complaint. No hesitation. Because this is what the day requires. The afternoon work is often quieter than the morning. The energy is lower. The movements are slightly more measured. But the consistency remains. Across the fields, the same pattern unfolds. People move in their sections, tending the land, guiding the water, maintaining the order that has been set long before them. The Nile continues its silent support. Channels carry its water into the fields, feeding the soil, sustaining the crops that will one day be harvested. Each channel is watched, adjusted, kept within its proper path. Nothing is allowed to overflow. Nothing is allowed to dry completely. Balance is maintained at every level. The sun lowers slowly. The light softens just a little more. The shadows begin to return, stretching faintly across the ground. The heat, though still present, begins to ease. And with this easing, the body finds a second rhythm. Not stronger, but steadier. The man continues his work without looking up. He does not measure the time by watching the sun. He feels it. Through the changing air. Through the shifting light. Through the quiet signals of his own body. In the village, movement begins again. Doors open. People step outside, cautiously at first, testing the air. The heat is still there, but it is no longer overwhelming. Tasks that were paused now resume. A woman carries a vessel across the path. Another begins to prepare for the evening meal. Children step out into the open spaces, their movements still gentle, still contained. The day is not ending yet. But it is beginning to move in that direction. Slowly. Calmly. Without interruption. Back in the fields, the work continues. Because until the light fades further, there is still more to be done. And in this land, every moment of light has its purpose. Every part of the day has its place. And nothing is left unfinished. The afternoon light begins to soften in a quiet and gradual way. It is not a sudden change. The brightness does not disappear. Instead, it loosens its hold on the land. The sharp edges of light become gentler. The air, though still warm, feels slightly easier to breathe. In the fields, the man continues his work. His movements are slower now, but they remain steady. There is no loss of rhythm. Only a subtle adjustment, as the body responds to the long passage of the day. His arms rise and fall with a quiet consistency. The tool meets the soil, lifts, and returns again. Around him, the same pattern continues. Each person remains in place. Each task moves forward. No one steps away early. No one leaves their work unfinished. Because the end of the day is not decided by feeling. It is decided by the light. The boy nearby shifts his footing. The ground beneath him has grown firmer in some places, softer in others where water has passed. He adjusts without looking down for long. His attention stays on the task, his body following what it has learned throughout the day. He is quieter now. More settled. The early uncertainty in his movements has faded. What remains is a simple repetition, guided by observation and memory. The Nile reflects the changing sky. The bright white light of midday has softened into a warmer tone. The surface of the water carries this shift, holding it gently as it flows. Small ripples move outward, catching the light in delicate patterns. Along the riverbank, a few figures appear again. They move carefully, as they did in the morning, but their pace is slower now. The day has taken its energy, and what remains is used with care. Water is gathered. Containers are filled. Each step is measured. Each action completes its place in the day. Back in the village, the air has begun to move again. A faint breeze returns, passing between the homes, brushing against the walls, slipping through open doorways. It carries with it a mix of scents: earth, grain, the fading warmth of earlier fires. The village feels awake once more. But it is not a loud awakening. It is soft. Controlled. A continuation rather than a beginning. Inside one home, the woman prepares the evening meal. Her movements are slow and deliberate. She arranges simple ingredients, placing each one with care. The fire is lit again, small and steady. The flame flickers quietly, casting a gentle light against the walls. There is no rush to finish. The timing is understood. The meal will be ready when the day has reached its proper end. Outside, children move in the open spaces. Their steps are light, their voices low. They do not run far. They remain close to the boundaries they know. Even in play, there is a quiet awareness of limits. They pause often. They watch. They return when called, without delay. Because even this part of the day is shaped by expectation. Nothing moves freely for long. In the fields, the man straightens his back once more. He pauses, letting his arms rest at his sides. His gaze moves across the land, taking in the long lines of soil, the gentle flow of water, the figures still working in the distance. The light has changed again. The sun is lower now, no longer overhead. Shadows stretch outward, thin and long, following the shapes of the workers as they move. This is the signal. Not spoken. Not announced. But understood. The day is nearing its close. Still, there is time left. The man lowers his tool again and continues. Because the final moments of work are just as important as the first. Nothing is left incomplete. Nothing is abandoned before its time. The boy continues as well. His movements are quieter now, more careful. The weight of the day rests on him, but he does not stop. He follows the rhythm to its end, just as he has been shown. The air cools slightly. The breeze becomes more noticeable, brushing against the skin, carrying away some of the heat that has built throughout the day. The Nile darkens just a little, its surface reflecting deeper tones of gold and soft brown as the sun begins its slow descent. Everything moves toward evening. In the village, more people step outside. The paths fill gently, not with noise, but with presence. Figures move from one place to another, completing final tasks, preparing for the quiet of night. The smell of food grows stronger. Warm, simple, familiar. It drifts through the air, mixing with the scent of earth and water. There is a sense of completion forming. Not excitement. Not relief. But a quiet recognition that the day has followed its course. Back in the fields, the man finishes one final motion. He presses the tool into the soil, lifts it, and then stops. This time, he does not begin again. He stands still for a moment. Then he lowers the tool completely. Around him, others do the same. The work has ended. Not because of choice, but because the light has reached the point where it must. The man turns away from the field. His steps are steady, unhurried. He does not look back. There is no need. The work will return tomorrow. Just as it always does. The boy follows. His pace is slightly slower, but he keeps close. He does not wander. He does not delay. Together, they move away from the land that has held their effort throughout the day. Toward the village. Toward the quiet evening that waits. The sun lowers further. The sky begins to change. And the long, structured day begins to release its hold, little by little. The light of the day begins to fade in a slow and gentle way. It does not disappear all at once. It lingers, stretching across the land, softening everything it touches. The sky shifts from its bright, steady blue into warmer tones, pale gold, then deeper shades that settle quietly near the horizon. The sun lowers, unhurried. Its warmth is no longer strong. It rests lightly now, like a memory of the heat that filled the day. The man walks back toward the village. His steps are even, neither fast nor slow. The ground beneath his feet feels different now, cooler in some places, still warm in others where the sun has lingered. Each step carries a sense of completion, though no words are spoken to mark it. Around him, others follow similar paths. The fields begin to empty. Lines that were once filled with quiet movement now stand still. The tools are carried back, held loosely but with care. Nothing is left behind. Nothing is forgotten. Because even the ending of work follows order. Nothing is done without purpose. The boy walks a short distance behind the man. His body feels heavier now. The day has settled into his muscles, into his legs, into his arms. But he does not slow beyond what is allowed. He keeps the same pace, guided not by energy, but by expectation. Ahead, the village comes into clearer view. Low homes, flat rooftops, narrow paths between them. Smoke rises faintly from a few places where fires have been lit again. The air carries the scent of cooking, simple, warm, steady. The sound of the village is still quiet. There are more voices now, but they remain low. No one speaks loudly. No one breaks the calm. Even at the end of the day, there is restraint. The man reaches his home. He pauses briefly at the entrance, then steps inside. The air within is cooler than outside, though it still holds the warmth of the day. The walls feel solid, steady, unchanged. Inside, the space is simple. Everything is where it should be. Nothing has shifted. The woman is there, near the small fire. She looks up briefly, acknowledging his return without words. There is no need for greeting. No need for conversation to begin the evening. The day has already spoken for itself. The man sets down his tool in its proper place. He washes his hands again, using a small amount of water. The motion is careful, deliberate. The dust of the field is removed, leaving the skin clean, though still marked by the work that has been done. The boy enters shortly after. He does the same. Watching. Following. Repeating. This is how the day closes. Not with celebration. Not with release. But with quiet completion of each final step. Outside, the sky continues to change. The sun has moved lower, touching the edge of the horizon. The light becomes softer still, spreading gently across the land. Shadows grow longer, then begin to fade as the brightness lessens. The Nile reflects this change. Its surface darkens slowly, holding the last light of the day in long, quiet streaks. The movement of the water remains constant, but its appearance shifts, becoming deeper, calmer, more still. In the village, people gather in small, quiet groups. Not for long conversation, but for shared presence. They sit near doorways, on low surfaces, or directly on the ground. Their bodies rest after the work of the day. Their movements are minimal. Their voices remain soft. There is no rush into the night. The transition is gradual. The evening meal is prepared and shared. Simple food, placed carefully, divided without excess. Each person eats what is given. There is no waste. No abundance beyond what is needed. The act of eating is quiet. There are no long discussions. Only brief words, spoken when necessary. The focus remains on the rhythm of the day, even as it comes to an end. The man sits with his family. He eats slowly. Each movement is measured. There is no urgency, but there is also no delay. When the meal is finished, the space is cleared. Everything returns to its place. Because even after the work has ended, the structure remains. Outside, the light continues to fade. The sky shifts into deeper tones, now soft orange fading into muted purple, then into a growing blue that signals the arrival of night. A faint breeze moves through the village again. It carries the cooler air of evening, brushing gently against the skin, easing what remains of the day's heat. The sounds of the village grow softer. Voices lower further. Footsteps become less frequent. Children move closer to their homes, their quiet energy settling into stillness. The boy sits near the entrance, watching the sky. His eyes follow the fading light, the slow appearance of the first stars. He says nothing. He simply observes, allowing the moment to pass as it always does. Inside, the man prepares for rest. He adjusts the simple space where he will sleep. A woven mat. A low frame. Nothing elaborate. Only what is needed. The woman moves quietly as well, completing the final tasks of the evening. Nothing is left undone. Nothing is postponed. Because the next day will come. And it will begin in the same way. The sky darkens further. The last light of the sun disappears below the horizon. In its place, a deep and steady night begins to form. The Nile becomes a darker shape now, still present, still moving, but no longer reflecting the bright tones of day. Instead, it carries the faint glow of the sky above, broken only by small ripples that move without sound. One by one, small lights appear in the village. Simple flames. Soft and steady. They do not brighten the night. They only soften it. Inside the home, the man lies down. His body settles onto the mat. The weight of the day releases slowly, not all at once. His breathing deepens. His muscles begin to rest, though the memory of movement still lingers. The boy lies nearby. His eyes close more quickly. The rhythm of the day has guided him from morning to night, and now it guides him into sleep. There is no resistance. No delay. Only quiet surrender to rest. Outside, the village grows still. The breeze continues softly. The river flows. The stars fill the sky. And the strict, steady day shaped by order, by expectation, by balance comes to a close. Not with a clear ending, but with a gentle fading. As everything returns to stillness once more. Night settles fully over the land. It arrives quietly, without sharp edges or sudden darkness. The last traces of evening fade into a deep, soft blue, and then into a calm and steady black. The sky opens wide, filled with small, steady points of light. The stars remain still. They do not flicker in a restless way. They hold their places, distant and constant, just as they have for as long as anyone can remember. Below them, the village rests. The narrow paths that carried quiet movement through the day are now empty. The doors of the homes are closed or left slightly open to allow the cooler air to pass through. Inside, the small flames that once lit the evening grow dim, some fading completely, others left as faint glows. The air feels different now. It is cooler, softer, easier to breathe. The weight of the day has lifted. In one home, the man lies still. His body has settled into rest, his breathing deep and even. The long hours of work have left their quiet mark on him, but now that effort has been set aside. His hands, which moved with steady repetition throughout the day, are relaxed. There is no tension. No movement beyond the slow rise and fall of his chest. Nearby, the boy sleeps as well. His rest is deeper, less measured. The rhythm of the day has carried him here, and now he remains still, without thought, without effort. The woman lies not far away. Her day, though different in its tasks, has followed the same structure. It began with the same light, moved through the same heat, and ended with the same quiet completion. Now, like the others, she rests. Outside, the Nile continues its endless motion. Even in darkness, it does not stop. The surface is darker now, reflecting only the faint light of the stars above. The water moves in silence, its path unchanged, its purpose steady. Along its edges, the land cools. The warmth that built throughout the day slowly fades from the soil. The air above it shifts, becoming lighter, carrying a softness that was absent under the sun. Occasionally, a small sound moves through the night. A distant animal. A soft movement of reeds near the water. A quiet stirring of wind against the walls of the homes. But these sounds are brief. They do not disturb the stillness. They are part of it. The village remains at rest. There are no late movements. No wandering figures. The structure that guided the day extends into the night. Rest is not random. It is expected. It is complete. Time passes slowly. There are no signals to mark it. No measured intervals. Only the gradual shift of the night sky, the subtle movement of stars across the darkness, so slow it is almost impossible to notice. Inside the home, the air remains calm. The walls hold the quiet. The space feels enclosed, but not heavy. There is a sense of safety in it. A sense that everything is as it should be. The tools are set aside. The tasks are complete. Nothing has been left unfinished. This is important. Because in this life, each day must close properly. If something is left undone, it carries forward. And the balance is disturbed. But tonight, everything has been completed. The man does not wake. The boy does not stir. The woman remains still. Their rest continues, uninterrupted. Outside, the stars move very slowly across the sky. They follow their paths just as the sun does, just as the river does, just as the people do in their daily lives. Everything has its course. Everything follows order. This is the quiet foundation beneath the day. Not seen. Not spoken. But always present. As the night deepens, the air cools further. The ground releases the last of its stored heat. The breeze becomes slightly more noticeable, passing gently through the village, touching the edges of doorways, brushing across the flat rooftops. In some places, people sleep outside, beneath the open sky. They lie on simple mats, their bodies still, their faces turned slightly upward. The night air moves over them, cool and steady, carrying the faint scent of the river. They do not wake. They remain within the rhythm of rest. Time continues. Slowly. Quietly. Without interruption. Far in the distance, beyond the village, the desert stretches outward. It remains still, unchanged by the passing of the day. The sand holds its shape, its silence deeper than anything within the village. There is no movement there, only a vast and open stillness that rests under the same sky. And yet, even this distant land is part of the same order. The same balance. Everything connected, even in quiet. As the night moves forward, a subtle change begins. It is very slight. Almost impossible to feel at first. The air shifts. The darkness softens. The stars begin to fade, just a little. This is not the end of the night. But it is the beginning of its change. The cycle continues. Without pause. Without question. Inside the home, the man's breathing remains steady. The boy sleeps without movement. The woman rests in the same quiet stillness. They do not sense the change yet. But it is coming. Slowly. Gently. Just as it did before. Because the next day is already beginning to form. And when it arrives, it will follow the same path. The same structure. The same quiet strictness that shapes every moment from waking to rest. For now, the night remains. Soft. Deep. Unbroken. Holding everything in place as the world prepares, once again, to begin. The night begins to loosen its hold, very slowly. At first, nothing seems different. The sky remains dark, the village still, the river moving as it always has. But there is a subtle shift in the air, a quiet change that cannot be seen, only felt. The darkness becomes thinner. Not gone. Just lighter in a way that is almost unnoticeable. The stars, which once seemed sharp and steady, begin to soften. Their light fades slightly, as if they are stepping back to make space for something else. The breeze moves gently through the village. It carries a cooler touch now, different from the softness of late evening. This is the coolness that comes just before dawn, when the air has fully released the warmth of the day before. It settles over the rooftops. Slips through narrow openings. Touches the resting forms inside each home. The man remains still. His breathing is deep and even. The rhythm of his rest has not been disturbed. His body, having completed the long pattern of the previous day, continues to recover in quiet silence. Nearby, the boy shifts slightly. A small movement. A turning of the head. Then stillness again. The woman remains at rest. All three are held within the final moments of night. Outside, the Nile reflects the fading stars. Its surface is darker now, with only faint points of light drifting across it as the sky begins its slow transition. The water moves with the same calm certainty, unchanged by the passing hours. Along the edges of the village, the land feels cool beneath the air. The soil, which held so much heat during the day, has now released it. It feels firm, calm, settled. The silence is deep. But it is not empty. It carries a quiet sense of waiting. As if the world itself is preparing. Far off, a bird stirs. The sound is soft, brief, almost uncertain. Then it fades. A few moments pass. Then another call, slightly clearer this time. These are the first small signs. Not loud. Not sudden. Just enough to mark the turning of time. The sky begins to change. At the very edge of the horizon, a faint line appears. Not bright. Not even clearly visible. Just a soft hint of gray, separating the land from the sky above it. This is the beginning of dawn. Inside the home, the man's breathing shifts slightly. It is a small change. A gentle movement from deeper rest toward awareness. He does not wake yet. But the body begins to prepare. The same rhythm that guided him through the previous day begins to return. The same quiet pull toward morning. The boy moves again. His arm shifts. His breathing becomes a little lighter. The woman remains still for a moment longer. The air inside the home feels different now. Cooler. Fresher. The stillness of night is slowly giving way to something else. Something that will soon become movement. Outside, the faint gray along the horizon spreads wider. It lifts slowly, pushing back the darkness without force. The stars continue to fade, one by one, until only the faintest points remain. The Nile reflects this change. Its surface begins to take on a softer tone, no longer black, but not yet bright. A quiet in-between, where night and day meet without conflict. The bird calls again. This time, it is joined by another. And then another. The sounds remain gentle. They do not break the calm. They simply add to it. The village is still at rest. But not for much longer. Inside the home, the man opens his eyes. Not suddenly. Not with urgency. Just a slow, natural movement. He does not sit up immediately. He remains still for a moment, listening. The quiet is different now. Lighter. He knows what it means. Without needing to look. Without needing to think. The day is returning. He sits up slowly. His movements are calm, practiced. There is no hesitation. Because this moment has come before. Again and again. The woman wakes shortly after. Her eyes open gently. She adjusts her position, then sits up as well. The boy follows. A little slower. A little less certain. But still guided by the same rhythm. No one speaks. There is no need. The beginning of the day does not require words. It requires movement. The man stands. He reaches for his garment, wrapping it around himself in the same simple way. The fabric rests lightly against his skin, cool from the night air. The woman adjusts her own clothing. Her hands move with quiet precision. The boy does the same, watching, repeating. Outside, the sky continues to brighten. The gray becomes softer, touched by the first hint of pale color. The horizon begins to glow. The Nile reflects this gentle change, holding the faint light across its surface. The village begins to stir. Doors open. Figures step out into the early morning air. Movements are slow, measured, familiar. Each person follows the same beginning, the same path, the same structure. The man steps outside. The ground beneath his feet is cool once more. The air feels clean, light, untouched by the heat that will come later. He walks toward the river. Others do the same. A quiet line forms again, just as it did before. No one directs it. No one speaks it into place. It simply happens. Because this is how the day must begin. At the water's edge, the surface is calm. The man steps closer. He washes his hands, his face, his arms. The water is cool, refreshing. A quiet preparation. Others follow. Each one repeating the same motions. The same beginning. The same order. The cycle has returned. Not as something new, but as something continuous. Unbroken. Steady. As the first true light of the sun begins to rise, the land awakens once more. The fields wait. The village breathes. The river flows. And the strict, quiet rhythm of a normal day in ancient Egypt begins again. The first light of the sun returns to the land in a soft and careful way. It rises slowly, just as it did before, touching the edges of the world with a pale warmth. The horizon glows gently, and the darkness retreats without resistance. There is no sharp moment where night becomes day. Only a quiet blending, a gradual unfolding of light. The man stands at the river's edge. The water moves around his hands as he completes the final motions of washing. The coolness lingers on his skin for a moment before the air begins to warm again. He straightens, letting the water fall away, and steps back from the edge. Others do the same. Each person finishes in silence. Each movement is contained. There is no delay. Because once this beginning is complete, the next must follow. The man turns and begins to walk. His path is already known. From the river to the field. From preparation to work. The ground beneath his feet feels firm, still holding the coolness of night. Small traces of moisture cling to the surface in places where the air has settled. But this will not last long. The sun is rising. The warmth will return. The boy walks close behind. His steps are quiet. He watches the movements of those ahead, aligning his pace with theirs. There is no wandering, no distraction. Even at this early moment, the structure of the day is already in place. In the village, others begin their own morning routines. Fires are prepared again, small and controlled. The first signs of smoke rise into the air, thin and pale against the growing light. The scent of grain returns, soft and familiar, marking the beginning of another cycle of preparation. Inside one home, a woman kneels near the fire. Her hands move with steady precision, shaping dough, placing it carefully, turning it at the right moment. Nothing is rushed. Nothing is left uncertain. The rhythm is the same. It does not change. Children begin to stir again. They rise slowly, adjusting to the light, to the quiet sounds that signal the start of the day. They do not move freely. They remain within the spaces they know, watching, learning, preparing to follow. Because their day will also be guided. Step by step. Just as the day before. Back in the fields, the man arrives at his place. The land looks almost unchanged. The same lines. The same divisions. The same careful arrangement of soil and water. But there is always something new within the sameness. A slight shift in moisture. A small change in texture. A different pattern in the surface. These details are noticed, even if they are not spoken. They guide the work. The man lowers his tool. The first motion of the day begins. Press. Lift. Press. Lift. The rhythm returns immediately. It does not need to be relearned. It does not need to be forced. It is simply there. Around him, others begin as well. The field fills with quiet movement. Each person in their place. Each motion part of a larger pattern. The boy begins his work. His movements are more certain now than they were before. The repetition of the previous day has settled into him. His hands follow the same path, his body adjusting naturally to the effort. He does not look around as often. He does not pause without reason. He is becoming part of the rhythm. The sun rises higher. The light grows stronger. The coolness of early morning begins to fade. But for now, it remains gentle enough to work without strain. This is the most important part of the day. The time when the most can be done. The time when the body is strongest. And so, the work continues without interruption. The Nile glows under the growing light. Its surface reflects the sky, shifting from pale tones to brighter ones. The water moves with the same calm consistency, feeding the channels that reach into the fields. These channels are watched closely. Adjusted when needed. Maintained with care. Because water must be guided. It must not spread too far. It must not be held back too much. Balance must be kept. Always. The man pauses briefly. Not for rest. But to observe. He looks at the flow of water through a nearby channel. The movement is steady, but he notices a slight change. A small adjustment is needed. He steps closer. Using his tool, he shifts the soil slightly, redirecting the water's path. The movement is small, controlled, precise. Then he returns to his place. The rhythm continues. The boy watches this moment carefully. He sees how the smallest change matters. How even a slight shift can affect the whole. He remembers. This is how knowledge passes. Not through explanation, but through quiet action. The sun continues to rise. The light strengthens. The air warms. The first part of the morning moves forward, just as it always has. In the village, the morning meal is prepared and shared. Simple portions. Carefully divided. Eaten without excess. The act is quiet. Focused. Once it is complete, the tasks continue. Because the day does not pause for long. It moves steadily from one moment to the next. The structure remains firm. Unchanging. The man continues his work. His movements are smooth. Consistent. He does not think about each action. He allows the rhythm to carry him. The boy follows. Step by step. Motion by motion. The field fills with the quiet sound of labor. Soft. Repeated. Endless in its pattern. The sun climbs higher still. The shadows begin to shorten. The warmth begins to deepen. And once again, the day moves toward its next stage. The same path. The same order. The same quiet strictness that shapes every hour. Nothing is rushed. Nothing is delayed. Everything unfolds as it should. Just as it did before. Just as it will again. The morning settles into its full rhythm once more. The light grows stronger, though it still carries a softness that will not last. The air remains gentle, but beneath it there is a quiet promise of heat that will come later, just as it always does. In the fields, the man continues his steady work. His movements have become almost invisible in their repetition. They no longer draw attention. They no longer feel like effort in the way they once might have. Instead, they exist as part of the day itself, as natural as the movement of the river or the rising of the sun. Around him, others move in the same quiet pattern. Each person remains in their place. Each task continues without interruption. There is no need for instruction. No one calls out directions. Because everything has already been learned. Everything has already been said. This is how discipline exists here. Not through force, but through habit. Through expectation. Through a shared understanding that does not need to be spoken. The boy works nearby, his posture more stable now. His hands move with less hesitation. The rhythm has begun to settle into him more deeply. He no longer watches every movement of the others. He follows the pattern from within, guided by what he has already repeated. Still, there are moments when he glances up. Moments when he checks. These are small, quiet adjustments. They do not break the flow. They become part of it. The sun rises higher. The light becomes clearer, brighter. Shadows begin to shorten again. The soil underfoot starts to lose the last traces of morning coolness. A gentle dryness forms at the surface, changing the way the tool moves through it. The man notices this. He does not speak. He adjusts. His movements shift slightly, applying a different pressure, a different angle. The change is small, but it allows the work to continue smoothly. This is another form of discipline. Not only doing the same task, but doing it correctly, even as conditions change. The Nile continues to feed the land. Water moves through narrow channels, guided with care. Each path has been shaped by hands over many seasons. Each turn is known. Each boundary is respected. A man nearby steps into one of the channels. He moves slowly, adjusting the flow with his feet and hands. He presses the soil where needed, opens a small gap where water must pass, closes another where it must stop. The work is quiet, precise. Nothing is done without purpose. The boy watches again. He sees that even water must follow rules. It must not wander freely. It must be guided, controlled, kept within its place. Everything in this world moves within limits. Even the river, though it seems endless, follows a pattern that is understood and expected. In the village, the structure of the day continues just as firmly. The morning tasks have been completed. Now, smaller duties take their place. A woman cleans the surface where food was prepared. Her hands move slowly, wiping, arranging, restoring order. No item is left out of place. Each object returns to where it belongs. Nearby, another prepares materials for later use. Bundles of fibers. Pieces of cloth. Simple tools. All are handled with care. Nothing is wasted. Nothing is treated without attention. Children remain close. They do not move freely through the village. They stay within sight. Within reach. Their actions are guided, even when no words are spoken. They carry small items when asked. They watch closely. They learn the timing of things. When to move. When to stop. When to remain still. This learning is constant. It does not pause. It does not wait for a special moment. It happens through the entire day. Back in the fields, the heat begins to grow. It is still manageable, but it is no longer light. The sun has risen high enough to rest more directly on the land. The air begins to feel thicker. The man continues his work without pause. But his body responds. His breathing deepens slightly. His movements remain steady, but they are more measured now. Energy is used carefully. Nothing is wasted. The boy feels this change as well. His steps are a little slower. His arms tire more quickly. But he does not stop. Because stopping is not decided by discomfort. It is decided by time. And time, here, belongs to the sun. The field remains quiet. The sound of work continues. Soft. Repetitive. Endless in its calm rhythm. No one rushes ahead. No one falls behind. Because the structure keeps everything aligned. Each person knows their pace. Each person maintains it. This is how the work remains even. Balanced. Complete. The sun climbs higher. The light grows stronger. The shadows begin to draw closer to the feet. The air grows warmer. And still, the work continues. In the distance, a faint call can be heard. Soft. Measured. It carries across the field without breaking the calm. The man hears it. He does not react immediately. He completes the motion he has begun. Then he straightens slowly. Around him, others begin to do the same. This is the signal. The first pause of the day. It arrives just as it did before. Quietly. Without urgency. The man steps back from his work. He moves toward a place where the light is softer, where a small amount of shade can be found. He sits. His body lowers into rest, but not fully. This is a short pause. A measured one. Nearby, others sit as well. Some take a small drink of water. Others simply close their eyes for a moment. The boy sits down. His breathing is a little faster. He lowers his head slightly, letting the body settle. No one speaks loudly. No one breaks the quiet. Because even rest is part of the structure. It is not free. It is not extended beyond what is allowed. The pause remains short. Just enough to continue. The sun continues its path. The light grows stronger still. And soon, the work will begin again. The man opens his eyes. He rises without hesitation. He returns to his place. The tool is lifted once more. And the rhythm continues. Press. Lift. Press. Lift. Just as it has before. Just as it will again. The rhythm of the morning continues without interruption. The short pause has passed, and the work has resumed as if it had never stopped. The sun now stands higher in the sky, its light more direct, more present. The air begins to feel heavier again, though it has not yet reached the full weight of midday. In the fields, the man moves with the same steady repetition. His hands grip the tool with quiet certainty. His body follows the motion without thought. Each action is guided by memory, by practice, by a long line of days that have all followed the same path. Around him, others continue as well. No one speaks. No one calls out. The work is shared, but it is not discussed. Because everything has already been decided. This is where the strictness of the day becomes clearer. Not in loud commands. Not in visible force. But in the absence of choice. Each person knows where they must stand. What they must do. How long they must continue. There is no moment where someone chooses to do something different. There is only the continuation of what has always been done. The boy feels this as he works. At first, his understanding came from watching, from copying. But now, it begins to settle deeper. He no longer thinks about whether to stop or continue. He simply continues. The structure has begun to shape him from within. This is how order is maintained. Not by constant instruction, but by forming habits that do not break. The soil grows warmer beneath their feet. The surface begins to dry more quickly under the stronger light. Small cracks appear in places where the moisture has faded. The texture changes, and the tools respond differently. The man adjusts again. His movements shift slightly. He presses a little harder. Lifts a little slower. These changes are small, but they matter. Because the work must remain even, consistent, complete. Nearby, another worker slows for just a moment too long. It is a small thing, barely noticeable, but it does not go unseen. A figure stands at a distance, watching. He does not shout. He does not approach quickly. He simply observes. His presence is enough. The worker resumes his pace. The rhythm is restored. Nothing more is said. This is how correction happens. Quietly. Without interruption. Without breaking the flow. Because the order must remain smooth. Unbroken. The boy notices this. He sees how even a small delay is corrected. Not through punishment, but through awareness. Through the understanding that every movement is part of something larger. He lowers his head slightly and continues. His pace remains steady. His focus does not drift. The sun climbs higher still. The light becomes stronger, pressing more firmly against the land. The air grows thicker, holding the warmth close. The Nile continues to move beside them. Its surface shines under the bright light, but beneath that brightness, the water remains cool, steady, constant. The channels that carry its water are checked again. A small blockage is cleared. A slight overflow is corrected. Each adjustment is made without delay. Because even the smallest imbalance must be fixed immediately. There is no waiting. No ignoring. Everything must remain in place. In the village, the same quiet control continues. Tasks are completed in their proper order. A woman finishes cleaning and moves to the next duty without pause. Another prepares items that will be needed later in the day. There is no idle time. No wandering from one task to another without purpose. Each action follows the one before it. Each moment leads into the next. Children remain within this structure as well. They are not left to move freely. They are guided, even in silence. A child who steps too far from the expected space is gently brought back. No harsh words. No loud correction. Only a quiet return to where they belong. This is how the boundaries are learned. Not through fear, but through repetition. Through gentle, constant guidance. Back in the fields, the man continues his work. The heat now begins to press more noticeably against his body. A thin layer of sweat forms again, catching the light. His breathing deepens slightly, but his pace does not break. He continues. Because the structure demands it. Because the time for rest has not yet come. The boy feels the strain more clearly now. His arms grow heavier. His steps require more effort. But he does not stop. He cannot. Because stopping would break the pattern. And the pattern must not be broken. This is the quiet strictness of the day. It does not shout. It does not force. But it does not allow deviation. Everything moves forward in the same line. The same rhythm. The same expectation. The sun reaches higher. The shadows shrink further. The air grows heavier still. The moment approaches when the longer rest will arrive. But it has not come yet. And so, the work continues. Across the field, the same motions repeat. Again. And again. And again. Until the signal is felt. Not heard. But understood. When the body, the light, and the time all align. Then, and only then, will the next pause begin. Until that moment, nothing changes. Nothing slows. Nothing stops. The day moves forward. Steady. Controlled. Unbroken. The sun rises to its highest place in the sky. It does not rush to get there. It arrives slowly, step by step, until the light above feels complete and full. There are no shadows left to stretch across the ground. They gather tightly beneath the feet, small and faint. The heat settles over everything. It is no longer gentle. It is no longer something that can be ignored. It presses down with a quiet weight, filling the air, resting on the land, touching every surface without pause. In the fields, the man continues his work. But now, the effort is different. Each movement carries more weight. The tool feels heavier in his hands. The soil, warmed by the sun, offers a different resistance. The air does not cool the body. It holds the heat close. Still, he does not stop. Because the moment for stopping has not yet arrived. The boy feels the change even more clearly. His breathing becomes deeper. His arms slow slightly. But he does not break the rhythm. He cannot. Because even under this growing strain, the structure holds. It does not bend. It does not adjust for comfort. It remains steady. Across the field, the same quiet persistence continues. Each person moves within their place. Each action follows the one before it. No one leaves early. No one rests without cause. The land itself seems to hold its breath. The breeze has disappeared. The air stands still. Only the faint sounds of work remain, the soft contact of tool against soil, the shifting of feet, the quiet rhythm of breathing. The Nile flows beside them. Its surface is bright now, almost too bright to look at directly. The light reflects sharply, creating a steady shimmer that moves with the current. Beneath that brightness, the water continues its calm, unchanging path. This constancy is important. It reminds them that even in the strongest heat, the balance remains. Nothing is out of place. Nothing is uncertain. The man pauses for a brief moment. Not fully. Just enough to straighten his back. To take a deeper breath. Then he continues. Because the time for the longer rest is close. But it has not yet come. And until it does, the work must go on. The boy glances toward the horizon. The sky is pale now, almost washed of color by the strength of the sun. There are no clouds. No movement above. Only stillness. He lowers his gaze again. Returns to his task. The pattern continues. Then, slowly, something shifts. It is not seen at first. It is felt. A slight change in the way the light rests on the skin. A small difference in the air. A quiet signal that has been learned over time. The man finishes one more motion. Then another. And then he stops. This time, he does not continue. He lowers his tool completely. Around him, others begin to do the same. Not all at once, but in a shared understanding. This is the moment. The longer rest. The one that must be taken. Because the heat has reached its peak. The man steps away from his place. His movements are slower now, but still controlled. He walks toward the shaded area, where the light is softened, where the air feels just slightly easier. He sits. His body lowers more fully this time. His hands rest against the ground. His shoulders drop. His breathing deepens. This rest is different. It is not brief. It is necessary. Around him, others sit as well. Some lean slightly forward. Others close their eyes. A few lift small containers of water, drinking carefully, never too much. The boy sits down. He exhales slowly. His body relaxes more than it did before. But even now, there is awareness. He does not lie down. He does not stretch out. He remains within the limits of the rest. Because even this moment is structured. Even this pause has boundaries. The silence deepens. The field, once filled with quiet movement, now holds stillness. The tools lie beside their owners. The soil rests untouched. The only movement comes from the faint shimmer of heat rising from the ground. In the distance, the Nile continues. Unchanged. Unaffected. Its steady motion contrasts with the stillness of the land. This balance remains. Movement and rest. Effort and pause. Heat and quiet. Everything in its place. Time passes slowly. There is no rush for it to end. Because returning to work too early would break the order. And breaking the order is not allowed. The man keeps his eyes closed for a moment. Then opens them. He looks out across the field. Everything appears brighter, almost blurred by the heat. The edges of objects soften slightly as the air shimmers. He does not move. Not yet. The boy watches the others. He follows their stillness. Learns the length of the pause. Understands that even rest must be measured. In the village, the same stillness has taken hold. The paths are empty. The homes are quiet. Most people remain indoors, away from the direct light. The walls hold back some of the heat, creating a space that feels calmer, though still warm. Inside, movement is slow. Minimal. A woman sits near the wall, her hands resting for a moment before returning to a small task. Even here, in the quiet of midday, there is no complete idleness. Only reduced motion. Only controlled rest. The air inside feels thick. But still. Outside, the light remains strong. The sun holds its place. The world waits. And within this waiting, the structure remains firm. Unbroken. Holding everything in balance. Until the moment comes. When the light begins to shift again. And the day moves forward. The stillness of midday begins to ease. It does not end all at once. The heat remains, pressing gently against the land, but something within it softens. The air begins to move again, just slightly. A faint current passes through the fields, touching the skin with a quiet relief. The sun has not lowered much, but its hold feels different. Less heavy. More distant. In the shaded space, the man opens his eyes fully. He does not rise immediately. He waits for a moment, sensing the change. The same change that comes each day. The signal that the rest is ending. Around him, others begin to stir. A hand shifts. A shoulder lifts. Eyes open slowly. No one speaks. No one calls the moment into action. It is understood. The pause has reached its proper length. The work will begin again. The man places his hands against the ground and rises. His movements are steady, though slower than in the morning. The rest has eased some of the strain, but not all of it. The day still holds weight. He steps back toward his place in the field. Others follow. One by one. Quietly. Order is restored without effort. The tools are lifted again. The positions are resumed. The rhythm returns. Press. Lift. Press. Lift. The pattern continues as if it had never stopped. The boy rises as well. He adjusts his stance, takes a small breath, and begins again. His movements are careful at first, as his body settles back into the work. Then they become steady. Familiar. The structure holds him in place. There is no space for hesitation. The afternoon has begun. The light shifts slowly across the land. It is still bright, but no longer at its peak. The angle has changed, though only slightly. Shadows begin to return, faint and stretched, growing longer as time passes. The air, though still warm, allows for movement again. The body responds. The rhythm continues. In the fields, a quiet form of attention returns with the work. Not only to the soil, but to each other. At the edge of the field, a figure stands once more. Watching. Not interfering. Only observing. This presence is constant. It does not need to move. It does not need to speak. Its role is to ensure that the order remains. That the rhythm does not break. That each person continues as they should. The man is aware of this presence. But he does not look toward it. He does not need to. It is always there. Always part of the day. This is how authority exists here. Not loud. Not forceful. But constant. Unseen in its full shape, yet always felt. The boy senses it too. In a quieter way. He feels the need to remain steady. To match the pace. To avoid slowing or drifting. This awareness becomes part of his movement. Part of his focus. Part of the discipline that shapes him. The Nile continues to guide the land. Its water flows through the channels, which are checked again as the afternoon begins. A small adjustment is made here. Another there. Each change is precise, careful, controlled. Nothing is left unattended. Because even after rest, the balance must be maintained. The sun lowers slowly. The light softens just enough to ease the strain. The shadows stretch further. The ground begins to release a small amount of its stored heat. The man continues his work. His movements are steady, though the day has begun to settle into his body again. The effort is present, but it does not stop him. Because the work must continue until the light allows it to end. Not before. Never before. The boy works beside him. His pace is quieter now. More measured. But it does not break. He has learned that the day does not adjust to him. He must adjust to the day. This understanding becomes part of him. Just as it has for those around him. In the village, life begins to return to motion. Doors open again. People step outside. The air feels lighter now, more bearable. Tasks that were paused during the heat begin again. A woman carries a vessel across the path. Another begins preparing the evening meal. The fire is lit once more, small and controlled. The scent of food returns to the air. Soft. Familiar. Children step outside again. Their movements are gentle. Contained. They do not run freely. They remain close. Within the quiet boundaries they have learned. The village breathes again. But it does not lose its structure. Everything remains guided. Ordered. Steady. Back in the fields, the afternoon continues. The work does not rush. It does not slow too much. It remains even. Balanced. Each motion carries the day forward. The man straightens his back for a brief moment. He looks across the field. The light has shifted more now. The sun is no longer overhead. It has begun its descent. This is how he knows the day is moving toward its end. But there is still time left. Still work to be done. He lowers his tool again. Continues. The boy follows. The pattern remains unbroken. The figure at the edge of the field continues to watch. Still. Silent. Ensuring that the order holds until the final moment. The Nile reflects the changing light. Its surface grows softer in tone, holding deeper colors as the sun lowers. Everything moves toward evening. Slowly. Gently. Without interruption. The strict rhythm of the day continues to guide every motion. Until the final moment arrives. And the work comes to its proper end. The light of the afternoon continues to soften. It settles gently across the land, losing the sharp intensity it once held. The sun moves lower, not quickly, but with a quiet certainty that cannot be changed. The air begins to shift again, carrying a faint coolness that was absent during the long hours of heat. In the fields, the man continues his work. His movements are slower now. Not broken. Not uneven. Just quieter. The effort of the day has settled into his body. His arms carry a steady weight. His shoulders rest slightly lower. Each motion takes a little more intention, a little more care. But the rhythm remains. Press. Lift. Press. Lift. Around him, the same pattern continues. No one stops early. No one leaves their place. Because the end of the day is not chosen. It arrives when the light allows it. The boy works beside him. His body feels the weight more deeply now. His movements are smaller, more controlled. He no longer wastes any motion. Each action is deliberate, guided by what he has learned through repetition. He does not look up often. He does not pause without reason. He continues. Because this is what the day requires. The Nile reflects the softening sky. Its surface, once bright and sharp, now holds warmer tones. Gold begins to return, mixed with deeper shades that hint at the coming evening. The water flows as it always does, unchanged by the shifting light. Along the channels, the final adjustments are made. A small correction. A careful clearing. Nothing is left undone. Because the work must end cleanly. Complete. Balanced. The figure at the edge of the field remains. Still watching. Still present. There is no need for movement. No need for sound. The presence alone is enough. The man feels it, as he always has. But it does not disturb him. It is part of the structure. Part of what keeps everything in place. The sun lowers further. The shadows stretch longer now, reaching across the ground in thin lines. The heat continues to ease, though it has not disappeared completely. The air feels lighter, more open. The body responds. Breathing becomes easier. Movement feels less heavy. But still, the work does not stop. Because there is still light. And where there is light, there is work to be done. The boy glances toward the horizon for a brief moment. The sky has begun to change. The brightness is softer. The color deeper. He lowers his gaze again. Returns to the task. He has learned that watching the sky does not change the time. Only the work continues. In the village, the evening begins to take shape once more. Fires are lit again. Small flames flicker gently, casting a warm glow against the walls of the homes. The scent of cooking fills the air, growing stronger as the meal is prepared. People move through the narrow paths. Their steps are slow. Measured. There is no rush. Only the quiet continuation of the day's final tasks. Children remain close. Their voices are soft. Their movements gentle. Even now, as the day begins to close, the structure holds. Nothing becomes uncontrolled. Nothing becomes loud. Everything remains within its place. Back in the fields, the man completes another motion. Then another. Then slowly, he straightens. He does not stop yet. But he senses it. The end is near. The light has reached a point where it begins to signal completion. Not with a clear mark. But with a feeling that is known. Shared. Understood. Around him, others continue for a few moments more. The rhythm holds. Then, one by one, it begins to slow. Not all at once. But gradually. The man finishes one final motion. He presses the tool into the soil. Lifts it. And then lowers it completely. This time, he does not begin again. He stands still. His arms rest at his sides. His breathing is steady. Around him, others come to the same moment. Tools are lowered. Movements stop. The field grows quiet. The work has ended. Not early. Not late. But exactly when it should. The figure at the edge of the field remains for a moment longer. Then turns. And walks away. No words are spoken. No signal is given. Because none is needed. The order has been followed. The day has been completed. The man turns away from the field. His steps are slow, but steady. The boy follows. Close behind. Together, they walk back toward the village. The land behind them rests. The soil lies still. The channels hold their shape. Everything remains in place. As it should. The sun lowers further. The sky deepens in color. Gold fades into softer tones. The air cools more noticeably now. The breeze returns. Gentle. Calm. The village grows fuller as people return. Each person carrying the quiet weight of the day. Each person moving through the final steps of the evening. The man reaches his home. He pauses at the entrance. Then steps inside. The air within feels calm. Familiar. The woman is there, near the fire. She looks up briefly. No words are needed. The day has been shared, even without speaking. The man sets down his tool. He washes his hands again. Slowly. Carefully. Removing the dust of the field. The boy does the same. Watching. Repeating. Learning. The meal is shared. Simple. Measured. Each portion taken without excess. Each movement quiet. There is no long conversation. Only presence. only the closing of the day. When the meal is finished, everything is returned to its place. Nothing is left undone. Nothing is left for later. Because the next day will come. And it will begin the same way. Outside, the light continues to fade. The sky shifts toward deeper tones. The first stars begin to appear. Soft. Distant. The breeze moves gently through the village, carrying the coolness of evening. The sounds grow quieter. Footsteps fade. Voices lower. Inside the home, the man prepares for rest. He adjusts the simple space where he will sleep. The boy settles nearby. The woman completes the final small tasks. Everything is in order. Everything is complete. The man lies down. His body settles. The weight of the day begins to lift. Slowly. Quietly. The boy closes his eyes. His breathing softens. The rhythm of the day carries him into rest. Outside, the village grows still. The Nile flows. The stars fill the sky. And once again, the strict, steady day fades into night. Not with an ending, but with a quiet return to stillness. Night settles once more over the land, calm and unbroken. The last light of the sun has faded completely, leaving behind a deep, steady darkness that stretches across the sky. The stars return again, quiet and distant, holding their places without movement that can be easily seen. The village rests beneath them. The narrow paths are empty now. The soft glow of small flames inside a few homes flickers gently, then begins to fade. Doors remain closed or slightly open, allowing the cooler night air to move through. The air feels different again. Cool. Soft. Carrying away the weight of the day. Inside the home, the man lies still. His body has settled into rest, his breathing deep and even. The long hours of labor have left their quiet mark, but now they begin to loosen. The muscles that carried the work release slowly, one by one, without effort. Nearby, the boy sleeps. His rest is deeper now, guided by the rhythm that shaped his entire day. His body does not resist it. It follows naturally, as if it has always known this pattern. The woman rests as well. Her day, though different in its tasks, has followed the same structure. The same beginning. The same middle. The same quiet ending. Now, all three remain still. Outside, the Nile continues its endless movement. It does not change for night. It does not pause. It flows steadily, reflecting the faint light of the stars above. The surface is dark, smooth, carrying only small ripples that move without sound. Along the edges of the water, the land cools further. The warmth that built throughout the day fades completely now, leaving behind a calm and settled ground. The air above it carries a softness that was not present before. The breeze moves gently through the village. It brushes against the walls of the homes, slips through small openings, touches the resting forms inside. It carries faint scents: earth, water, the quiet remains of earlier fires. Everything feels still. But within this stillness, there is structure. Even rest follows a pattern. People do not wake and move freely in the night. They do not wander without purpose. The body rests because it must. Because the next day will demand the same effort. The same rhythm. The same order. Time passes slowly. There are no signals to mark it. No measured sounds. Only the quiet movement of the night sky, so gradual it feels almost unchanged. In some homes, a small flame remains. It flickers softly, casting a faint glow across simple walls. The light does not reach far, It does not disturb the darkness. It only exists as a small presence, steady and controlled. Inside, nothing moves. The man remains at rest. The boy does not stir. The woman's breathing remains calm. The tools of the day are set aside. The spaces are ordered. Everything is as it should be. This sense of order does not end with the day. It continues through the night. In the way things are placed. In the way the body rests. In the way the silence is kept. Nothing is left uncertain. Nothing is left undone. Outside, the stars continue their slow movement. They follow paths that are known, even if they are not spoken of in words. Their presence is constant, returning each night in the same quiet pattern. This pattern reflects the life below. Repetition. Consistency. Balance. Everything moving in cycles that do not break. As the night deepens, the air grows cooler still. The breeze becomes slightly more noticeable, though never strong. It passes gently, carrying the calm of the river, the stillness of the land. The village remains quiet. No footsteps. No voices. Only the soft presence of rest. In the distance, beyond the village, the desert stretches outward. Silent. Unmoving. Its vastness holds the same darkness, the same quiet, untouched by the routines of the people but still part of the same world. Everything remains connected. Even in stillness. Inside the home, the man shifts slightly. A small movement. Then stillness again. His rest continues. The boy remains quiet. The woman does not wake. The rhythm of sleep holds them. Time continues to pass. Slowly. Without interruption. Then, gradually, a change begins. Very small. Very quiet. The air shifts again. The darkness softens. The stars begin to fade just slightly. This is not yet dawn. But it is the beginning of its return. The same cycle. The same pattern. The same quiet movement from night to day. Inside the home, the man's breathing changes slightly. Not waking. But preparing. The body begins to move toward awareness again. The boy shifts. The woman remains still for a moment longer. Outside, the horizon begins to lighten. A faint gray appears once more. Soft. Uncertain. But present. The Nile reflects this change. Its surface begins to shift from deep darkness to a softer tone. The breeze carries a different feeling now. Less cool. More balanced. The night begins to release its hold. The day prepares to return. Everything moves forward. As it always has. As it always will. The structure remains. Unbroken. Guiding each moment from rest to waking. From stillness to movement. From night into another day. The first hint of morning returns once more. It arrives softly, as it always does, spreading a pale and gentle light along the edge of the horizon. The darkness begins to loosen again, slowly giving way without resistance. The stars fade, not all at once, but one by one, until only the faintest traces remain. The air feels balanced. Neither cold nor warm. A quiet space between night and day. Inside the home, the man stirs. His breathing changes first. Then his eyes open. He does not rise immediately. He remains still for a moment, listening to the silence as it begins to shift. The world outside is no longer as quiet as it was during the deepest part of the night. There is a faint sense of movement returning. This is how the day begins again. Not with sound. Not with urgency. But with awareness. The man sits up slowly. His movements are calm, practiced, unchanged. Nearby, the boy begins to wake. His eyes open more slowly. His body takes a moment longer to follow. But the rhythm is already guiding him. The woman wakes shortly after. There are no words spoken. There is no need. The beginning of the day follows a path that is already known. The man stands. He reaches for his garment, wrapping it around himself in the same simple way as before. The fabric rests lightly against his skin, still cool from the night air. The boy does the same. His hands move carefully, repeating what he has seen many times. The woman adjusts her clothing. Her movements are quiet, steady. Everything begins again. Outside, the village starts to stir. Doors open slowly. Figures step out into the soft morning air. No one rushes. No one lingers. Each person moves with purpose. Because the structure of the day has already returned. The man steps outside. The ground beneath his feet feels cool again. The air carries a faint freshness that will soon fade as the sun rises. He begins to walk toward the river. Others follow similar paths. The same quiet line forms once more. No one directs it. No one announces it. It simply happens. Because this is how the day must begin. At the river's edge, the water is calm. The surface reflects the pale light of the early sky. The man steps forward. He washes his hands. His face. His arms. The water is cool, steady, familiar. Others repeat the same actions. Each movement is quiet, measured, unchanged. This simple act marks the true beginning of the day. A preparation. A return to order. The boy watches closely. Then follows. His hands move through the water, copying the motions he has learned. The coolness surprises him slightly each morning, but he does not react. He continues. Because even this must be done correctly. After the washing is complete, the man steps back. He turns toward the fields. The next part of the day is already waiting. The path from the river to the land is familiar. Walked countless times. Each step feels the same. The ground begins to shift from firm to softer soil as they move closer to the fields. The scent of earth grows stronger, carrying the memory of yesterday's work. In the distance, the sun begins to rise. A soft glow spreads across the horizon. The light touches the tops of the fields, the edges of the village, the surface of the Nile. Everything begins to brighten. In the village, the same quiet repetition continues. Fires are prepared again. Grain is ground. Dough is shaped. Each task follows the one before it without pause. Women move through their routines with steady focus. Children watch. Learning. Remembering. No one asks what comes next. Because it is already known. Back in the fields, the man arrives at his place. He pauses for a brief moment. Not to rest. But to observe. The land holds small changes from the previous day. A slight shift in moisture. A subtle difference in the surface. He notices these things without speaking. Then he begins. The tool is lowered. The first motion of the day returns. Press. Lift. Press. Lift. The rhythm begins again. Others follow. The field fills with quiet movement. Each person in their place. Each action part of a larger pattern. The boy begins his work. His movements are steadier now, more certain. The repetition has shaped him. He no longer needs to watch as closely. The rhythm is becoming his own. The sun rises higher. The light grows stronger. The coolness begins to fade. The day moves forward, as it always does. But within this repetition, there is something deeper. Something that shapes more than just the tasks of the day. It shapes the way people think, the way they feel, the way they understand their place in the world. The man does not question his work. He does not wonder if it could be different. Because for him, this is not one possible way to live. It is the only way. The structure is not something placed upon him from outside. It is something he carries within. The same is true for the woman, for the boy, for everyone in the village. Each role is understood, each responsibility accepted. There is no separation between life and duty. They are the same. The boy is learning this now. Not through instruction, but through repetition. Through the steady movement of each day. Through the quiet expectation that nothing will change. That everything will continue. The Nile flows. The sun rises. The work begins. And the cycle continues. Unbroken. Steady. Endless in its calm and quiet order. The morning continues to unfold across the land, steady and unchanged. The sun rises higher, spreading its light evenly over the fields, the village, and the wide river that connects everything. The rhythm that began in silence now fills the world again, not with noise, but with movement. The man continues his work. The boy follows. But they are not alone in this pattern. Across the land, beyond this single field, beyond this small village, the same structure repeats itself again and again. In other fields, other men begin their day in the same way. They walk to the river. They wash. They return to the land. They begin their work without hesitation. Each one moving within a place that has already been decided. Each one part of a larger system that stretches far beyond what they can see. This is how the entire land functions. Not as separate lives, but as one continuous rhythm. The Nile flows through it all, connecting villages, fields, and distant settlements. Its presence shapes every routine, every expectation, every day. In another part of the land, closer to a larger settlement, a different kind of work begins. A man sits inside a simple structure. The walls are made of the same mud brick, but the space is arranged differently. There are no tools for digging or planting. Instead, there are smooth surfaces, small containers of ink, and thin sheets prepared for writing. This man is a scribe. His day begins with the same light, the same quiet, but his movements follow a different pattern. He sits with his back straight. His hands move with careful control. He dips a reed into ink and draws small, precise marks. Each line is placed with attention. Each symbol carries meaning. But even here, the structure remains. The scribe does not write freely. He records what must be recorded. He follows forms that have been used before. Nothing is invented in the moment. Everything follows a known order. The same discipline exists, just in a different form. Outside, laborers move through the larger settlement. They carry materials: stone, wood, clay. Each item is transported with care. Each movement is guided. There is no rushing. No sudden bursts of effort. Only steady, continuous work. In another area, workers shape blocks of stone. Their tools strike in quiet repetition. Tap. Pause. Tap. The sound is soft, controlled, never chaotic. Each piece is shaped to fit a purpose already decided. Nothing is done without a plan. Nothing is left uneven. Because the same strictness that guides the fields also guides construction. Every task must be exact. Every movement must be measured. A figure stands nearby, watching. Just as in the fields. Not interfering. Only observing. Ensuring that the work continues as it should. This presence is constant across all roles. Farmers. Laborers. Scribes. All are guided by the same invisible structure. No one stands outside of it. No one moves freely beyond it. Back in the village, the woman continues her tasks. The morning work flows into the next without pause. One action leads to another. Nothing is left incomplete. She prepares, cleans, arranges, always returning items to their proper place. Her role is different from the man's. But it is no less structured. No less strict. Every movement has a time. Every task has a place. Children remain close. They do not choose their activities. They follow what is shown. They observe. They repeat. They learn the rhythm before they fully understand it. This is how the structure is passed forward. Quietly. Without instruction. Without change. Back in the fields, the sun continues to rise. The light grows stronger. The air begins to warm again. The same pattern returns. The same steady work. The same controlled pace. The man adjusts slightly as the soil changes under the growing heat. The boy follows. The rhythm continues. Across the land, this repetition creates something larger. A society that moves together. Not in perfect unison, but in shared structure. Each part connected to the next. Each role supporting another. The farmer grows food. The laborer builds. The scribe records. The household maintains order. Each one necessary. Each one fixed within its place. There is no confusion about purpose. No uncertainty about what must be done. Because everything has already been decided. Long before this day began. The Nile flows between them all. A constant presence. A guide. A source of life that never leaves its path. Just as the people do not leave theirs. The sun climbs higher. The morning deepens. The work continues. And across the land, the same quiet strictness shapes every moment. Holding everything together. Keeping everything in balance. As the day moves forward once more. The morning continues, steady and unbroken. The sun rises higher, and its light settles more firmly across the land. The air begins to lose its early softness, taking on the familiar warmth that will grow stronger as the day moves forward. In the fields, the man continues his work. The rhythm has not changed. Press. Lift. Press. Lift. The boy follows, his movements now closely aligned with the pattern around him. There is little difference between his pace and that of the others. What once required attention now flows more naturally. But beneath this quiet repetition, there is another layer. One that is less visible, but always present. Across the field, there are those who do not work the soil. They stand at a distance. They move slowly along the edges. They observe. These are the overseers. Their role is not to labor. Their role is to ensure that labor continues as it should. They do not speak often. They do not give constant instructions, because the structure of the day already guides most actions. But their presence remains, and that presence shapes behavior. The man is aware of them, even when he does not look. He knows where they stand. He senses their movement at the edge of the field. This awareness does not interrupt his work. It strengthens it. It keeps his rhythm steady, unbroken. The boy feels it as well, though he does not fully understand it yet. He knows that his movements must remain consistent, that slowing too much is not allowed, that drifting away from the pattern is noticed. He adjusts without thinking. This is how authority works here. Not through constant correction, but through quiet observation. Through the knowledge that every action is seen, and that every action must fit within the order. In another part of the land, near a larger settlement, the same system exists. Laborers carry stone in steady lines. Their steps are measured, their pace controlled. They do not rush. They do not stop without reason. At the edge of their path, an overseer walks slowly. He does not shout. He does not hurry them. He simply watches. If a movement becomes uneven, it is corrected. Not with force, but with presence. The worker adjusts. The rhythm returns. Nothing is broken. Everything continues. Inside the writing space, the scribe works in silence. His reed moves carefully across the surface. Each mark is placed with precision. He does not write freely. He records what has already been decided. Records of labor, of goods, of measures. Everything must be exact. Nothing can be altered. Even here, the structure holds. There is no freedom in the task. Only accuracy. Only repetition. Only adherence to form. The scribe's posture remains straight. His movements controlled. An overseer may pass nearby. Pause for a moment. Observe the work. Then continue on. No words are needed, because the expectation is already clear. Back in the village, the same quiet hierarchy shapes the day. The woman continues her tasks. Her role is defined as clearly as the man's in the field. She does not choose what to do next. She follows what is required. Cleaning, preparing, arranging. Each task leads into the next without pause. If something is out of place, it is corrected immediately, without delay. Children observe this as well. They see that every object has a position. Every action has a time. They learn not only how to do things, but when to do them, and how precisely they must be done. Even their small movements are guided. A child who reaches for something at the wrong moment is gently redirected. A quiet hand. A small gesture. No raised voice. But the message is clear. There is a correct way, and it must be followed. Back in the fields, the heat begins to grow stronger. The sun has climbed high enough to press more firmly against the land. The air thickens. The soil begins to dry at the surface. The man adjusts again. His movements shift slightly to match the changing ground. The boy follows. The rhythm continues. Across the field, an overseer stops for a moment. He watches a small group. One worker's pace has slowed just slightly. Not enough to break the rhythm completely, but enough to be noticed. The overseer does not call out. He steps closer. His presence alone is enough. The worker corrects himself. His movements return to the proper pace. The overseer steps away. Nothing more is said. This is how control is maintained. Quietly. Constantly. Without disruption. The system does not allow large mistakes. Because small ones are corrected immediately. Before they can grow. Before they can spread. This keeps the entire structure stable. Balanced. Unbroken. The boy notices this again. He understands more now. That the day is not only guided by the sun, but by people who ensure that its pattern is followed. He lowers his gaze. Continues his work. His movements remain steady. Careful. The sun continues to rise. The shadows shorten. The heat deepens. And still, the work continues. Because the time for rest has not yet come. And until it does, every movement must remain within the order. Across the land, the same pattern holds. In the fields. In the settlements. In the homes. In the places of writing. Every role watched. Every task guided. Every moment shaped by a quiet, steady authority that does not fade. The Nile flows beside them all. Unchanging. Reliable. A constant presence. Just as the structure of their lives remains constant. Holding everything together. As the day moves forward once more. The day continues under the steady rise of the sun. The light grows stronger, the air warmer, and the rhythm of work remains unchanged. In the fields, the man moves as he has all morning. The boy follows. Around them, others continue in the same quiet pattern. But beneath this visible order, there is something deeper. Something that gives meaning to every motion. Something that makes the strictness of the day feel natural. Unquestioned. It is not only habit that guides them. It is belief. A quiet understanding that the world itself depends on order. That everything must remain in balance. The man does not speak of this as he works. He does not stop to explain it. But it is present in every action. In the way he moves. In the way he continues without hesitation. He believes that the land must be cared for. That the river must be respected. That the work must be done as it has always been done. Because this is how balance is maintained. The boy begins to feel this as well. Not in words. Not in clear thoughts. But in a growing sense that the rhythm is not only practical. It is necessary. Back in the village, the woman prepares a small space within the home. It is simple. A place where objects are kept with care. Small items that are not used for daily tasks. They are handled differently. With more attention. More quiet. She adjusts them gently. Straightens them. Ensures that nothing is out of place. This, too, is part of the day. Not separate from work. But woven into it. A moment of stillness within the rhythm. A reminder that order is not only for the fields or the home. It is for everything. Across the land, similar moments take place. In larger settlements, within more structured spaces, individuals pause briefly during their tasks to acknowledge something beyond the immediate work. A small gesture. A quiet lowering of the head. A moment of stillness. These actions are not long. They do not interrupt the day. They fit within it. Just as everything else does. In the writing space, the scribe continues his careful work. His marks are precise. Ordered. Each symbol placed exactly where it belongs. There is no variation. No improvisation. Because even writing must follow a pattern. a structure that reflects the same balance found in the fields and the home. He pauses for a brief moment. His hand stills. Then continues. Nothing is broken. Nothing is lost. Back in the fields, the sun rises higher still. The heat grows stronger. The air becomes heavier. But the man continues. Because stopping without reason would not only break the work, it would break the order. The boy feels the strain. But he continues as well. Because he has begun to understand that the rhythm is larger than his own comfort. Larger than his own body. Across the field, an overseer watches. His presence remains constant. But even he is part of this deeper structure. He does not act freely. He follows expectations just as the others do. He ensures that the order is kept. Because it must be kept. Not for himself. But for the balance of everything. The Nile flows beside them. Steady. Unchanging. Its path is known. Its behavior expected. It rises. It falls. It feeds the land. This pattern is not questioned. It is accepted. Respected. The people follow the same principle. They rise. They work. They rest. They return. Each part of the day fitting into the next. Without break. Without deviation. In the village, children observe the quiet gestures of belief. They see the care with which certain objects are handled. The brief pauses within the day. The way adults move with attention, even when no one is watching. They begin to understand. Not through explanation, but through repetition. Through the steady example set before them. This is how belief is passed. Quietly. Gently. As part of the rhythm of life. The sun climbs higher. The shadows shorten. The heat deepens. The moment for rest approaches once more. But until it arrives, the work continues. Because the order must be maintained. The balance must not break. Every action matters. Even the smallest. Even the unseen. And so, the man continues. The boy follows. The woman prepares. The scribe writes. The overseer watches. And the entire land moves together. Guided not only by routine, but by a quiet belief that everything must remain as it is. Balanced. Ordered. Unbroken. As the day moves forward once again. The day, which has moved so steadily from darkness into light, now begins its quiet return. The sun lowers once more. Not suddenly. Not with any sharp change. It simply continues its path, as it always has, easing itself down toward the horizon. The light softens again, spreading across the land in warm, fading tones. In the fields, the man continues his work for a little while longer. The rhythm remains. Slower now. More measured. But still unbroken. The boy follows beside him, his movements calm, shaped by everything he has repeated through the day. There is less uncertainty in him now. The pattern has settled deeper. Around him, the same quiet motion continues. Until, slowly, the moment arrives. The man completes one final movement. Then he lowers his tool. This time, he does not lift it again. The others do the same. One by one. The field grows still. The work has ended. Exactly when it should. No sooner. No later. The overseer, standing at a distance, turns away without a word. His presence fades as quietly as it has remained. Because his task, too, is complete. The man stands for a moment. Not moving. Not thinking ahead. Just standing within the stillness that follows effort. The boy stands beside him. He does not speak. He does not need to. They both understand. The day has reached its natural close. They turn and begin to walk back. The path feels familiar beneath their feet. The land behind them rests. The soil lies quiet. The channels hold their shape. Everything remains in order. The Nile continues to flow, softly reflecting the fading light. As they move closer to the village, the sounds of evening return. Small fires begin to glow. Thin lines of smoke rise gently into the cooling air. People move slowly along the narrow paths, each one carrying the quiet weight of their day. Inside the home, the woman prepares the final meal. Her movements are calm, precise. Nothing rushed. Nothing delayed. The man enters. He sets aside what he carried. He washes his hands again, letting the water remove the last traces of the field. The boy follows, repeating the same motions. They sit. The meal is shared in silence. Simple food. Taken slowly. Each portion measured. Each movement controlled. There is no need for many words. The day has already spoken through their actions. When the meal is finished, everything is returned to its place. Carefully. Nothing left undone. Because leaving something unfinished would carry forward. And the next day must begin clean. Outside, the light continues to fade. The sky deepens. Gold becomes soft gray. Gray becomes blue. Then darker still. The first stars appear again. Small. Steady. Unmoving. The air cools. The breeze returns. Gentle and quiet, it moves through the village, touching walls, passing through doorways, settling over the land. The sounds grow softer. Footsteps slow. Voices fade. Inside the home, the man prepares to rest. He lowers himself onto the simple space where he sleeps. His body settles. The weight of the day begins to leave him. The boy lies nearby. His breathing slows quickly. Sleep comes easily. The woman finishes the last small task. Then she rests as well. The room grows still. Outside, the village becomes quiet once more. The Nile flows in the darkness. Unchanged. The stars fill the sky again, holding their places as they always do. Time moves forward. Slowly. Gently. Without interruption. There is no true ending here. Only a continuation. Because even now, as the night deepens, the next day has already begun to form. The same light will return. The same movements will follow. The same rhythm will guide each moment. From waking, to working, to resting, and back again. A life shaped not by sudden change, but by steady repetition. By quiet discipline. By an order that does not break. And so the land rests. The people rest. Everything settles into stillness. Held gently between what has been done and what will come again.